Later this year, we will be receiving a special set of Pokemon cards focused around the Kanto Pokemon. In Japan, the set is called Pokemon 151. The name is TBD internationally, but pretty certain we will be getting these cards at some point. And they have revealed a bunch of new cards, including Zapdos EX and Jynx EX. Let's go talk about them. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and yeah, we've got a lot of cards to catch up on because I didn't get a chance to cover these last week because I was away for Mother's Day. So let's go take a look at some of the new cards. We've got a new Hitmonlee, which is not particularly good, to be honest. For 1 fighting energy, Tornado Kick does 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. This could potentially be kind of cool in the Ting Lu deck, actually, where putting damage counters disables your Pokemon with abilities, except for EX. So this actually could be kind of okay. And then low kick for 100, that is not good at all, but the Tornado Kick with Ting Lu could actually be kind of good. So I kind of take that back. This one might be okay. We get a new Dragonite Stage 2 Pokemon. It's got the ability Jet Cruise, where your Pokemon in play have no retreat cost. This could be kind of fun, but it is a stage 2 on the Dragonite, which is kind of rough to play, but no retreat cost is pretty tantalizing. On top of that, for only a water and a lightning energy, you do Dragon Pulse, 180 damage, and discard the top 2 cards of your deck. Not a bad attack. If you throw a Choice Belt on there, you're knocking out a lot of Pokemon V. The ability is really nice. It is a stage 2. I don't know if it's worth it to set this up, but it's a really interesting card nevertheless. We've also got Dodrio, 100 HP, normal type, and it's got the ability Rampage Draw, where you must put a damage counter on this Pokemon in order to use its ability, and once during your turn, you may draw a card. So drop a damage counter on a Dodrio, draw a card. Being able to draw more cards is always good. I don't know if it's worth it to evolve up to Dodrio to then draw a card. However, that is a thing. And then also for 1 colorless energy, Raging Beaks does 10 damage plus 30 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So you get 1 damage counter on there, you're doing 40. You put a second damage counter on there, you're doing 70, and it scales up that way. Like, in theory, this could do a ton of damage, but like, because you're only dropping 1 damage counter at a time, maybe you're playing something like Gapejaw Bog to put more damage on there. That actually might not be the worst idea if you're putting this in like a Zoroark V-Star deck. But I think this is probably overly situational to be a viable play. We also have a new Beedrill, and with this one, it's stage 2, 130 HP, which is really low for a stage 2, but it does have, for 2 colorless energy, a Verse Stinger. Does 30 damage, and if you don't have any cards in your hand, this attack does 120 more damage, and your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned and paralyzed. So you have to get your hand all the way down to 0 to get 150 damage and poison and paralysis. Poison and paralysis are interesting, but this feels like way too much work for not enough impact. I don't think this one is really going anywhere. Here we go. We've got a new Clefairy, and it's got the move Lunar Invitation, where you can search your deck for 1 psychic energy, search your deck for up to 3 more Clefairies and put them on your bench, which then combos into this Clefable, where it does Follow Me, switch one of your opponent's, oh, not this one. For the move 3 psychic energy, Additional Moon does 50 damage, and if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, you take 1 more prize card. So you could potentially take 4 prize cards with Clefable, and it's going to be very situational, but there are decks that could make this work. If you pair this with the Clefairy that moves in and out of the active and attaches energy, you could use that to charge it up. You could potentially play this in a Gardevoir deck where you're doing using Shining Arcana and Brainwave to, is it called Brainwave? Whatever that Gardevoir move is to attack, and then you finish it off with this Clefable to take an extra prize. Could be kind of cool. Again, it's very interesting, but it feels like it's going to be a little tough to make work. Do have a Vileplume with a very cool ability, Full Bloom Energy. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may look at the top 8 cards of your deck and attach any number of basic energy cards you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Now, this is very intriguing, right? This is sort of like the Blastoise, although you're not guaranteed energy. It's the top 8 cards of your deck, but it also doesn't end your turn. So you can load up 8 energy and potentially go crazy. And on top of that, it doesn't specify grass energy. It's just 8 energy. So in theory, you could put this in any deck and just flood the board with energy, assuming you could pull off the combo of getting into Vileplume. I don't know what decks this would like. I mean, you could theoretically put this in a whole bunch of different stuff. It is very interesting. You're going to need to run a high energy deck to give you a lot of chances on hitting energy in the top 8 cards, but this could be very cool. This Vaporeon is interesting. Its first attack is not very good, but the second attack for water and 2 colorless energy is 90 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon EX or Pokemon V, this attack does 90 more damage. With the meta being what it is, we're seeing a lot of EX in Pokemon V. You can charge this up with the new reversal energy if you're behind on prizes. You could also slot this into a Baxcalibur deck to charge up that energy. You could even put this in Palkia if you wanted to. I don't necessarily think it's the best use of Palkia to hit for 180 to the active, when you could use this on Greninja, do 90-90, charge up a Vulpix, charge up a Chen Pao. But single prize attacker that can do 180 damage on most meta-relevant Pokemon that can be charged up in a turn, yeah, that could be cool. Of the cards we're going to see today, this one I think is the most fascinating. It's Ditto. Colorless Pokemon. Its attack is absolutely useless, but its ability, Transforming Start. This ability can only be used if this Pokemon is in the active spot and only on your first turn. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, except any Ditto. If you do, discard this Pokemon and all attached cards and put that Pokemon in its place, then shuffle your deck. If you're playing like Lost Box, for example, and you want to be able to guarantee you get Comfey in there, or at least a better shot of guaranteeing you have Comfey, you can put Ditto in the active, switch it out for a Comfey, and just roll. I'm playing Arceus Giratina today on stream, and sometimes you get that Giratina start, or you start with Skwovet, and that's horrible. You can put in a Ditto or two, and put the Ditto in the active, switch it out with the Arceus, and you're good. I think this card is amazing, and because of how important it is to start in the Pokemon TCG, I could see a world where many decks run this card going forward, just as kind of as an extra of whatever Pokemon you want to start in the active, because this ability is so good. Yes, this can be shut off by stuff like Klefki or Empoleon, but I don't think that they're meta relevant enough right now to see play. I guess the Ting-Lu possibly could be a problem for this as well, but I think that there will be enough use cases to make this viable in many different decks. We have Mewtwo, and it's Psychic colorless Psystrike move, 130 damage, discard 2 energy. This is a horrible attack. However, Reflector Barrier for 2 colorless energy, you do 20 damage, and during your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon takes any damage from attacks, put the same number of damage counters on the attacking Pokemon. So you're really hoping you run into a super heavy attacker that does massive damage, and then you end up giving them all that damage back, and it hurts them more than it hurts you, because you're a single prize Pokemon and you're hurting their multi-prize Pokemon and possibly even knocking them out when they attack you. This feels overly situational. You can gust around it, you can escape rope around it. I don't think it's worth it, but it's an interesting card. We've got Chansey. I love this art. I think this card is absolutely adorable. Its ability is not bad either. Lucky bonus: if you took this Pokemon as a face down prize card and your bench isn't full, before you put it into your hand, you may put it on your bench and flip a coin. If a heads, take 1 more prize card. Now it is a lot, right? You have to put this Chansey on your bench. You have to have room for Chansey. You have to then bench it, and now you have this single prize liability on your bench, and you have to flip a coin, and if you flip heads, then you take an extra prize. But taking extra prizes is so good. I feel like people are going to try playing this. I don't necessarily think it's going to be great, but I think it's going to be a pretty fun card for those that use it. We have the legendary bird trio, and they all kind of have similar attacks, but the big one I want to focus on here is Zapdos EX, 200 HP. It does have, if this Pokemon has any lightning energy on it, it has no retreat cost. And the big thing here is multi-shot lightning. For 3 lightning energy, does 120 damage to the active and 90 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. If you think about, say, the Miraidon deck with energy generators, you could pull this off theoretically on turn 1, take 120 damage to the active, 90 to the bench, knock out 2 Comphase, and put decks like Lost Box or even Gardevoir in a really bad spot. So this could be an interesting snipe card, especially early in the game. Another cool combo here is Jynx EX, where it's got the move Badoom Kiss. If your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, it's now knocked out. And that, like knocking out anything. You can knock out a VMAX or an EX with 330 HP instantly with Jynx if you can get them asleep first. And you can combo this with, where is that card? With the new Hypno, where it's got the ability Chance Hypnotism. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may leave your opponent's active Pokemon asleep. And this is just a really interesting combo where you evolve into Hypno and then you attack with Badoom Kiss and just instantly take KOs. Now, how are you getting the energy on there? Theoretically, you could use Palkia, you could use Baxcalibur. There are other ways to accelerate water. I mean, even just a water and a double turbo energy could do the trick here. I don't know if it is reliable enough of a strategy to build an entire deck around, but if you can find ways to put your opponent to sleep, and water decks are so good right now because there's so much support for water Pokemon, that maybe this could be actually legit. We even got some new trainers that are very good. We've got Big Balloon, which is basically just Air Balloon, except it only works on Stage 2 Pokemon. I'm really sad that it doesn't work on anything else, but it is some much needed support for Stage 2 Pokemon that can work really well. We also have Bill's Transfer, which is a supporter where you look at the top 8 cards of your deck and you may retrieve any number of Pokemon you find there and put them into your hand, then shuffle the other cards back into your deck. Being able to grab a whole bunch of Pokemon in certain decks, like if you're playing, say, Shadow Rider Calyrex, this could be awesome. There are a couple of other decks where you're trying to grab a bunch of Pokemon, and Bill's Transfer could be a great card for that, even if it is at the risk of top 8 cards and you might not get the ones you want. Being able to grab multiple Pokemon off the top could be great. That's going to do it for our look at the latest round of Pokemon 151 cards. Again, these will likely be coming as a special set later this year. I will provide you with all of the details once we have more information on that. But what do you think of this next crop of cards? Let me know in the comments below. So Twitch fam, stick around. We're going to keep going, but on YouTube, we have to go. Thank you so much for watching. We've got some quick plugs here. You can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at In3rdPerson. You can find me on Twitch, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And check out the website, in3rdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. So until the next one, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.